Hello guys and welcome to The Sims 4. Welcome back to another speed build. Today we're doing that weird 131321 Chic Street apartment. I've heard people affectionately refer to it as the murder apartment. It is the one with like the outline and all the stuff you can't move. And I started working on this one because we got the Windows update, and it was kind of fun to move stuff around, make it a little, still stick around with like the same idea of the apartment, but make it a little bit like lighter, brighter, more fun to work with. Stayed with a similar layout. I made it a 1-bedroom instead of a 2 because I like having more space for my Sims. There's like a weird balance that has to happen most of the time for me to actually play in a place where there's like room for my Sim to move around, room to put stuff, room to do stuff. But it's not so big that you lose your Sim. So I ended up just turning it into a cozier 1-bedroom than a super cramped 2-bedroom, which is what it was to start. There's some things in this apartment that can't be moved. There's like the electrical box, the plumbing thing, the weird drain, and then the like murder spot. So I covered most of these things up or just incorporated them into the build. The drain is in the bathroom, for example. My understanding is those things actually have gameplay. I don't play in this apartment enough to actually have really experienced that. I can't remember offhand how often that happens. But the things that are covered either by a rug or by a cabinet. So for storytelling purposes, you could just go into build mode and move those things. Because that's probably what would happen in real life, right? Like a utility cabinet would be covering some pipes. A rug would be covering the weird murder tape, although you would not have the weird murder chalk lines in real life because that would, ew. But so that's how I would play in this apartment, and that's how, to be honest with you, I intend to actually play in this apartment, and I will just move the things. That's not immersion breaking for me. So that's how I went ahead and handled those. It took me a little while to figure out the vibe of the apartment here. I knew I wanted kind of earthier tones, but I have really struggled to get there, and I think there's a lot of combinations that I come up with in this little mode here working on this kitchen that I liked, and so I left it in because I'm hoping to inspire y'all to maybe take some of these combinations where I just couldn't see them for this build. But I knew I really wanted to go with greens. I knew I really wanted to go with like warm wood tones and stuff, and I ended up settling on something I'm pretty happy with. But it definitely took me a little while to get there, and I definitely played with it back and forth quite a bit. I ended up going with two-tone cabinetry, neither of which are what I would consider like normal tones currently within the ecosystem of kitchens, at least where I live. Most people are still in their white, like Joanna Gaines kitchen style, or like I've seen a few like more modern, still white, but like with the like more tile, marble and tile vibe, that kind of thing. So this is definitely like a little bit more of an odd kitchen. It definitely is it's very like out there, but I think it's really cool, and I think it's a kitchen I would enjoy cooking in. Maybe not with the creepy like pipes and stuff. I was trying to see here if I could make this sink make sense. I could not, and it's fine. And it's a tight kitchen, don't get me wrong. It is a small kitchen, but it is much bigger, I think, than what was in here. And if not, it's at least maybe laid out a little bit better, so it makes a little bit more sense. And I ended up doing some open shelving and some cabinets, which in real life that cabinet would open and bang those shelves and would be obnoxious because it would basically be unusable. But also, if we're being quite serious, why would that cabinet open that way in real life? No one would do that. That's really dumb. That cabinet should be opening from the interior, and then it would still bump, but it wouldn't be as bad, and the cabinet would still be useful. So I'm suspending disbelief here, whatever you want to call it, and just look. That cabinet opens the way we want it to, and we can just deal with it on our own, and no one can tell us otherwise because it's our game and we are the masters of our own universe in here. So there. But yeah, that in real life, I'm not really sure why that cabinet would open that way, and the things would be in the way, and that would be really annoying. Luckily, this is The Sims, and they don't use the cabinets, and it just looks like a lot more storage, which is nice. Carried the green in throughout the house. I went with this kind of evergreen. In a perfect world, I would love this to be a little bit more sagey. We don't have a lot of dark, sagey, foresty tones in the game. We have a lot of these like emeraldy jewelry tones. Yeah, there's the dead guy. We don't have a lot of just put a table over the top of him, it's fine. We don't have a lot of those more warm foresty greens. We have a lot of these very emeraldy greens. We just don't have a lot of matching greens in general. They did green a little bit dirty, but that's okay. So I went with this little bit more emerald green. It's okay. I'm cool with it. I paired it with a lot of oranges, and I paired it with some, I tried to do a lot of orange, but I tried to do a lot of navy blue as well, some creams, lots of wood tones, and I think it makes it look a little bit less like in your face emerald. It lends itself a little bit better. But I do think this would have been a little bit cooler if it was just slightly warmer toned across the board. Just slightly. Like, I'm not looking for, like, an army green or anything like that. I'm just looking for maybe just like a more red undertones. Just slightly more red undertones. And I really wanted this apartment to feel eclectic. I wanted it to feel very, like, what's the word I'm looking for? Like, found objects over time, collected, like, nothing was bought all at once, and it all just has kind of this fun, like, lived here for a while vibe. I also wanted it to be kind of funky because I imagined that this person traveled a lot, maybe, so they weren't in the apartment all the time, but when they came back, they always had something cool and fun, you know. They maybe don't do a ton of entertaining because it's a small space, but they have their buddies over every once in a while to, like, watch a game or whatever, you know, or the new season of The Bachelor, depending who lives here. That's kind of what I was thinking about. So it's very much a space that I would curate. I don't know if I would use these colors and these tones for myself, but the idea of, like, this is just my space and I'm happy in it, and if no one else likes it, that's not a problem because they don't live here, they don't pay the rent. That's kind of the vibe we were going for. Just very chill, casual, like, this is very indicative of the sim who lives here. Having said that, it took forever to pick up some of these things because it was so hard to find, like, the balance that I was looking for here. I feel like this is one of those apartments that I would probably call very sort of Pacific Northwestern because it's got a lot of wood tones, a lot of greens, a lot of creams, and when I get into that sort of build style, there's very much a vibe that I start shooting for that is not very easy to achieve in this game. This game does not have a very strong Pacific Northwest slant, which is fine. It doesn't need to. Moonwood Mill, I think, was probably the closest we got because, let's face it, that was basically Forks. Moonwood Mill is basically kind of like Forks. Or like a nod to. Honestly, it's got Life is Strange vibes too. Because same thing, Oregon. Washington, Oregon, that sort of logging camp, mining camp, Cascades kind of vibe. It's a beautiful place to grow up and to live. Don't get me wrong. Having lived there the first 20 plus years of my life, admittedly, I got a little, like, over it. I was a little over, like, the grunge. I was a little over the greens and the grays. But that's only because I had the privilege of growing up in it. It is an incredibly beautiful place to live. The Pacific Northwest is an incredibly beautiful place to live. And now I live in the high desert, and I love the high desert as well. And I feel like part of the reason I love the high desert is just because it's still novel 5 years in. There's still things I'm learning about all the time. Like, currently we're dealing with the worst fire season that I've lived through since being here. There's literally just a ring of fires around my place. The closest one is like 20 miles out. I'm not in any immediate danger or anything right now, although I do spend a lot of time right now thinking about how I would evacuate my critters and everything if I needed to, which is spooky as all heck. But just a whole different environment to live in. Everything around here is very beige. Lots of people accent with blues. The wildlife is very different. Like, you don't think about it, but when you live in the Pacific Northwest, at least in the area that I lived in the Puget Sound area, it's very temperate rainforest, and the birds are very rainforesty, and the wildlife is very rainforesty. And out here, it's very deserty. We don't have scorpions, thank God. I would lose my mind. But we have snakes, and we have different kinds of birds. We have doves out here, which I love the sound of a dove. I think maybe the dove has my favorite bird call ever. But it's just a vastly different environment, and I build sometimes with this style out here, and it's funny how different it feels to be building in a place that's much more like deserty. And then my aunt just moved to the middle of Arizona and has been sending me pictures, and it's funny because that's even a different kind of desert as well. It's just weird. It's fantastic. I love nature. I love how varied and vast our biomes are. I love our planet. A little bit of a bird walk, but it's funny how when you go into the Sims, there's very much a specific style, and it is not influenced by nature as much as you would believe. Like, The Sims has a very strong, like, eco story now. The Sims 4 at this stage in the game, it has a very strong, like, found object style to it, which is really cool, and I'm glad they've been embracing that. But it's very funny to me how when you actually sit down and do some of this, there are nods to nature, there are moments in the patterns and things, but there's definitely not that, like, very eco-centric vibe you get from, like, Pacific Northwest or living in a place where your entire life revolves around the land and what it's doing. It's kind of fun to try to force it to do that, though, because this game has so much stuff in it now, if you have the expansion packs, which I'm very privileged to be able to have, and I recognize that my builds aren't always super attainable for all, and I want to start working on limited packs. It's one of those things where I'm constantly battling the, like, I need the brain space to do that, and I do, the Sims is sometimes an unwind for me, but I am working on the idea of like trying to figure out maybe build a limited packs, base game builds. I do love a good base game challenge. I find that really fun. Our base game has gotten really strong lately. They've done a lot to make it a really strong base game compared to what it was, and I think that's fantastic because base game builds were a lot harder a few years ago. Base game builds not that hard now, which is great. I have decided, this is a complete topic change, but I just saw it in the video here a few seconds ago. The longer I rant, the less important this becomes, but it's fine. That baby bookshelf, the like little, where it's like just a couple pieces of wood on the wall and then they're all like faced out and they're all like the little like cardboard books, the little wood books. I want a version of that that looks more adulty. I would love them to make a version of that, but it has like full-on chapter books on it because that is such a cute little bookshelf style, and I see that all over the place, like when I go visit friends in the Pacific Northwest, because a lot of times in the Pacific Northwest too, and a lot of like the cities and stuff, you have very little space, or you're built on a hill, so it's very compact and multiple levels, and stuff like that where it's like a skinny little bookshelf shoved somewhere is very common. And I think that would be a really cool piece to have where it doesn't look like kids' books, which it's not specifically a kids' bookshelf. The Sims bookshelves don't differentiate as far as I'm aware. They all work the same. But it would be nice if it didn't look so kiddie. Someone who makes CC should be able to do that, or I would appreciate it if they made like a flat bookshelf like that where it was just like books up on the wall. That'd be really cute to do just like in an apartment anywhere. Be able to have those kind of books on the wall. Be really, really fun. This bedroom kind of kicked my rear end. I'm still not wholly convinced I love the lighting in here, and I'm still not even wholly convinced I love the final choice in the bed. But I wanted to kind of stick with this like very earthy tones theme, and I wanted to keep it very like chilled out. And it got there in the end, I think, but it took a while, and it's so very tiny. And I didn't really want to do a ton with blocking the windows, but I wanted to get like the very basics in here with like a dresser and stuff. I wanted it to be a fully functional bedroom because the only point of having a bedroom is to have it be, functional as such. I thought about maybe doing spandrels instead of a door and having it be like a studio. I thought that could be kind of cool too, but the thing is the only place you could put that is either on your TV wall, which you would lose that wall in the living room then, and then it's like, well, you could make it work. You could move the windows around and stuff, but it would change the vibe in there, which is fine. Might be worth investigating. Or you could have it facing out towards the front door, and I hated that idea because, like, so where my room is in my house, it's kind of, when I walk out of my room, I walk right in front of the front door, but I have my own door, and it would drive me crazy if my room was open to the front door. My brother, right now, where he's sleeping in the house, we actually have a bedroom for him, but I digress. Where he is sleeping right now used to be the formal front living room. So he is like around the corner from, but he doesn't really have like a specific door from the front door, and I know it bothers him sometimes too, so I try to be mindful of that. If it's a true studio where you just walk into the bedroom, I feel like that's a little bit different, but it kind of feels like if you have like a dedicated bed space, it should still be like kind of hidden, but then I guess you could do curtains. I don't know. I simultaneously think I would be good at living in a studio because I kind of do right now. I live in a roommate situation where like my room is my space and then everything else is common spaces. But like I also sometimes think like maybe if I moved in an apartment I'd probably want like an actual bedroom. I don't know. It always comes down to me to corners of rooms. And that's because spiders. I'm always like, well, if I have less space, there's less space for a spider to get to where I have to deal with it. And if I have less things and less space, then it's harder for the spider to disappear. And then I'm not being hunted in my own home, right? So that's what it always comes down to. If I had to live by myself, I think I'd be probably fairly happy in a studio or a very small one bedroom because I would not want to lose track of the spider. Because at this stage in the game, because I live with other people, I can just be like, spider, and someone comes running, Someone's like, oh man, I was about to die, it's fine. Because I do not like spiders. I do not enjoy spiders. I do not find them fun. They stress me out. Not as bad as my mom. I don't full on like panic, but that's mostly just because I work outside enough that we've kind of developed a rapport. Like if they're outside, they're on their own. They're fine. They don't need to be bugged. If they're in my house, they're given a chance to leave. If they choose to not leave, war. That's all. We try to solve it peacefully. If they refuse to have it solved peacefully, the squish happens. That's all it is. That's kind of my view on most bugs, except bees. I will do almost everything in my power to save a bee because we need them. But I don't love that they want to get in my house and then yell at me about things. Like, I get it, but like, could we not? You know, there's a whole outdoors for you to be fine in. Did you need to be in my house? I don't think so. Anyways, I think I finally got them dealt with, but we have like a wasp situation happening on this farm, and they build in the stupidest places. It'll be like a gate that you use every single day, and they'll be like, the latch. We decided in the last 2 hours since you used this latch that we're gonna build a nest in the latch, and then we're gonna sting you when you try to open the latch. And I'm like, I literally use this gate 9 or 10 times a day. Why did you need to build why? Wasps choose violence. That's it just, they're, wasp men. Anyways, back to the build. We're starting to do the detailing now. It was kind of funny because I actually started this apartment, funnily enough, because I was getting really far behind because the build I was working on, which has been set aside again, was frustrating me and was not coming together, and I needed to walk away from it, and I needed something else to build. And I was like, apartments are always great because they're a fun little constraint mechanism where like I have to work within the designs of somebody else, and they usually come together fairly quick because I can start feeling the vibe. This one actually took a really long time to come together, and I got kind of behind on builds, but it's okay, we pulled it off. But I was really excited to like kind of pull this one together, and I ended up doing it like kind of differently, and it took a little while to get like the styling right and stuff. I really love this kitchen though. I'm really convinced I could actually like in real life cook in this kitchen, and there is a place to cook. It is a functional kitchen despite the fact that I cluttered the tar out of everything. But if you didn't like the clutter, or your sim needed more space or whatever, you could remove the clutter really easy and have more options for more cooking. Or like if you have like multiple sims living in here, although I don't know how you would because it is one bedroom. Here I'm trying desperately hard to cover the mouse hole. This will not prevent the mouse from being a problem, but it just hides it. Just makes it a little bit prettier. So you will still have to probably move this bookcase to deal with the mouse, but again, that's fairly realistic. I have had the unfortunate displeasure of dealing with mice in my house, and that's one of those things where I now pay someone to ensure there's no longer mice in my house, because I fought that battle for a long time by myself and then realized it's just easier if someone with the skills and the licenses deals with it for me. And in fact, I'm almost certain we're gonna have like a very minor small problem again, because the wheat field next door is about to be harvested, and the mice always run for the hills, and you know they're gonna try to get inside because it smells like food, which I am not looking forward to. I'm not looking forward. So I already called my mouse guy and I was like, hi, can you please come do the thing where my house smells icky and they don't want to come? And he was like, yeah, just call me when they start swathing and he'll come out, because they focus on making it where the mice don't want to come in. So instead of like killing them, which unfortunately we do have to have traps occasionally because sometimes they get in here and then they don't want to leave because, you know, I'm a good cook. It doesn't happen very often anymore. It happened once and I called people and was like, help. But they put stuff down where it's just like the mouse doesn't smell the food, it smells like predator, so they just don't want to come into the house. The house doesn't seem like the fun place to be. Fortunately, that means they're my outbuildings, but there's nothing in my outbuildings necessarily that they can get into right now and ruin, knock on wood. And I've been starting to put like that stuff down in the outbuildings too. I love these little hanging tapestry things. I ended up doing the horse one, which I usually try to stay away from because I have like strong horse girl tendencies and I don't want to always like force that on other people. But in this case, I thought it kind of made sense within the vein of the rest of the house because it has kind of that like eclectic vibe. So I was like, those tapestries actually work in this space in a way that tells a different story than I'm just a horse girl and wanted to shove horses in. It tells and it had a really good color story to it, which I really liked. Here I spent far too long trying to find that basket with the oh, that's a cool fruit basket that I didn't know existed too. Yeah, now I want to build like a kitchen based around that. Regardless, I was looking for that basket with the pillows in it because I love that, because if I lived by myself that would be a thing that I would have, because lordy, I have too many pillows. I have a pillow problem, you guys, and not in like a fun like, oh, everything is really cushy kind of way. In a like, I need to probably deal with this problem because there are furniture pieces that I don't use because they're covered in pillows. It's dumb. And here I'm just doing like the final touches, putting some flowers in, putting some plants in, making sure things look cozy and green, trying to find different things. I love this little like testing tube plant, but I never use it, so I've been trying to use it more often. I think it's such a neat thing. It's just kind of very what's the word I'm looking for? Particular, I guess. It's very particular in the way it can be used. So, and then I tried to find a place to put my pothos. Watch me realize that I'm recording again. Y'all, I do this so often where I bump the wrong keys and end up recording these huge long videos in the Sims folder, and then I don't even realize it, and then I'm like, where did all my memory go on my computer? And I have like 14 gigs worth of Sims. It's dumb. I have to figure out how to stop doing that, y'all. I have got to figure out how to stop doing that. And here I'm just making a cozy little area for clothes and things. I put a closet in the dining room because it made sense within the layout of the space. And I would imagine that realistically, most of your clothes would probably go in there too, like your hanging stuff. It would just be because it's a small apartment, just not all your clothes are in your bedroom. But I did give her a little dresser, or him a little dresser, or they a little dresser, because I like the idea of, like, obviously their unmentionables and stuff being in there, and then like coats and maybe dresses and things going in the hanging closet. Obviously, I don't think they probably have a lot of stuff going on because, like I said, in my head they kind of travel a lot and stuff. I ended up putting suitcases and a backpack over here, so that it'll kind of like put together, like there's a to-go bag all the time. I did it in purple. I think I ended up changing that, but looking at this now, I really love the purple, and I hope I don't. I'm almost certain I do, but I hope I don't. I really almost stuck with that rug too, because I really loved the patch of blue in there, because there's a couple subtle blue accents throughout the apartment, but I didn't love the gold and I didn't love the black in the space. But I wish we had figured out how to put more navy in this area, because I think it would have benefited from some navy. The rugs kicked my rear end. I don't think I ended up with a rug. I can't remember which rug I ended up with, but I'm relatively certain it was sort of like a, well, this is fine kind of situation. It's a weird shape for a bedroom too, so I struggled with rug sizing and stuff. Yeah, I think I do that one, and then I put like, yeah, a little seating area in and around here, which I don't think your sim will actually use, but you know, I could see myself sitting in the window pretty okay, like enjoying in the morning, just like flopping down, willing myself to get dressed to go to work. I could see that. I struggled with putting curtains and stuff because it was doing that weird thing where if you put stuff too close to the wall, it would disappear. So I kind of gave up and just lowered the curtains a little bit. That's probably not where they should be hung, but I didn't want things disappearing. Kind of the same reason the knives in the kitchen are in kind of a weird spot, because it was just like, well, this is gonna disappear if I put it where I want it, so we're just gonna be okay with that. Well, with some interesting green curtains, which I think are a choice, but honestly, those curtains very much remind me of like the curtains you can get at like Nordy's. You know, they come in like 3 different colors, and it's like a kind of off cream, kind of a taupe, and then like the green, and I was like, that's what those are. She just went to Nordy's. But anyways, guys, here's the screenshots. I'm gonna go ahead and stop yapping at you. I hope you're having a great day and you're feeling love. I hope you enjoy the screenshots, and I will see you in the next one. I think I've got some cool ones coming up. I'm pretty excited about it, and I'm hoping pretty soon I will have a different mic set up, and hopefully the audio quality will be a little bit better, maybe, because I'm gonna pull the mic off the desk, which means when I bump things, you won't hear it. Hopefully, maybe, we'll see. No promises. I don't know what I'm doing. Figure it out. Anyways, love you guys. Bye. Mwah.